Hey everybody, welcome to day 29 where we are talking specifically about writing proactive characters. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and click it now, and then whatever it is you're drinking today, go ahead and grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. A tendency in beginning writers, and I do include myself in that when I was very first starting out, that we tend to write the world happening to our characters instead of a character who is strong enough to happen to the world. And so today I really want to talk about that, about proactive characters and how to make them. So I want you to take a second, and you can pause this if you need to, but think of your favorite characters of all time. And I would be willing to bet that they were characters who had conviction, and they didn't just sit back and let the world happen to them. They took an active role in their lives. You know, let's think about a couple classics like Iron Man, who nobody built the suit for him. The world didn't happen to him. Well, when the world did happen to him, he rose up and conquered it. He overcame it by building this suit to get himself out of a terrible situation. He was extremely proactive. He made his own destiny. He made himself Iron Man. That was not thrust upon him. That was not just handed to him and he has to deal with it. He made it happen. Let's talk about Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. You know, this girl gets things done. Not only does she refuse to die, she learns these crazy magics, and she is ultimately the one who saves the day in actually a lot of ways. She takes control of her own destiny. She does not let the world happen to her. Or how about Rocky? You know, he's so iconic because he trained his heart out so that he could win this boxing match. Or how about Rapunzel in Tangled? You know, she sees those lights in the distance and she's like, I'm gonna go see those. She doesn't sit back and wait for someone. She definitely doesn't wait for her mom to give her permission to go. She goes and sees the lights. So if you want your character to be heroic and be iconic, it is extremely important that they are proactive and not reactive characters. It's not their friends dragging them everywhere and saying, we're going to this football game, you're coming, and they're dragging their feet all the time. And it's not people telling them that they're gonna learn magic and forcing them to learn it. They are actively wanting to learn it and pursuing the knowledge. And they have opinions and they make decisions. And even if they're terrible decisions or terrible opinions, it at least moves the story forward and they have depth. They feel like a real person because they are proactive, because they are pushing that story forward and not just letting the world and the plot happen to them. So I've got a couple of tips for you for creating strong, proactive characters who grab destiny by the reins and don't just let it control them. And the first is to avoid indifference. And I mean at all costs. There should never be a moment where there's a decision to make and your character goes, oh, I don't care, do either one. That's not memorable. That is not a character that will ever stick with anybody if they don't have opinions. And give them strong opinions, even if their opinions you don't personally agree with. You can have multiple characters with different opinions, remember that, but give them strong ones so that they feel like they're real and they feel like they have something that they believe in. And then one of the most important things is that you give them decisions to make. It could be a moral, ethical dilemma that they take a stance on, or it could just be the decision that they want to survive, and so they're going to do everything possible to overthrow the evil overlord. Whatever it is, make it their decision, and then hold them responsible for their actions. So if their actions cause people to die, don't let them pass that blame off to anybody else. They should have to bear that as the main character and as the person who made the decision, because if they don't have to, it's like there was no real risk. There have to be real risks for there to be reward. And so if they make a decision and it pays off, then they also deserve the credit for that, because they are the one who pushed the plot towards that solution and towards whatever it is that they've achieved. They deserve the praise for it then. And then that is what makes people look at them as a hero or as an icon, because they make decisions, they push the plot forward, they make the things happen, they don't just let the world happen to them. So there's this cool test that I heard of where you can really test if your character has agency, and that is that if you replaced them with any other character, would the story change? And in the case of these icons we talked about at first, it absolutely would. You know, if Iron Man had been in Rapunzel's tower looking at those lights off in the distance, he probably would have built a rocket rocket to go out and get to them. He definitely would have gotten there, maybe a little different from Rapunzel, but he would have gone. If Rocky had been the one who was trapped in that tower, he probably would have just run up the mountains and over every single obstacle. He probably would have beelined it straight to those lights. He would have gotten there. It would have been a different way than Rapunzel, but he would have definitely gotten there. And if we'd done a weak character instead of Rapunzel, who, you know, she kind of coerced Mr. Ryder into taking her along, but if we'd had a weak character who was just waiting for mom's permission, it would have definitely turned out differently because Rapunzel was proactive and she did have the reins on her own life. She is driving the plot, and so she is a really good and memorable character because of it. So as you're going through and working on your outlines today and smoothing out issues and making sure we're ready to start writing on day 31, really take a look at your characters and make sure, especially, that your main character is proactive. They are taking the active role in the plot, and they are not just letting the world happen around them and drag them along for the ride. I'm going to jump off and take a look at this as well. Again, I am still working on my outline, but it is getting really close to being ready, and I'm really excited to be starting on writing in just a couple of days. So if you guys haven't hit that subscribe button below, go ahead and click it now, and I will see you guys tomorrow for day 29 of the 60-day novel writing challenge.